Hi there, this is Cammie, and I'm going to do a recording of Assessing in the Age of AI, Shifting Strategies and Resources. I'm going to be doing this live at Southeast Alberta Teachers Convention in February, but lots of you have said, I can't make it. Is there any way that I can get some materials? So you can certainly find the presentation. It's at bit.ly/capital A, capital I, and then lowercase can. So the slides today will be available there. And this recording will probably also be housed there as well. And so we'll take a look at what this looks like. So as we dive in, hopefully we can agree that the goal of education is to produce students who are lifelong learners and critical thinkers and responsible citizens. And hopefully we can agree or realize that students are using AI tools. Even students as young as elementary, certainly students in junior high and high school, whether we guide them, whether we mold them, whether we shape their learning, whether we have an input or not, they are using AI tools. And so hopefully we can also agree that the goal of education isn't this crazy AI loop where the teacher uses a fancy tool to create an assessment with AI, maybe a new multiple choice test or a worksheet, and then the student uses AI to complete the assessment, and then the teacher uses AI to assess. Hopefully we can agree that this isn't the goal, this AI loop. The world that we've been preparing our students for to this point, and I would actually probably say that many of you are currently preparing your students for with the type of assessments and the type of learning you're doing, that world no longer exists. And so if we're not starting to shift real soon in what we're teaching students and how we're teaching students, certainly helping them get AI skills, but also other aspects as well, we are doing our students a disservice. Now, I'm hoping that we should be able to hear this video. This video is taking us back 30 some years to when the internet was new.
Back now, 56 past, I wasn't prepared to translate that as I was doing that little tease.
Oh, that's
that little mark with the A and then the ring around it.
At.
See, that's what I said. Katie said she thought it was about.
Yeah. Oh.
But I'd never heard it. I'd never heard it said. I'd always seen the mark, but never heard it said. And then it sounded stupid when I said it. Violence at NBC.
I heard be around big fight up in the lunchroom the other week.
There it is. Violence at NBC. GE com. I mean.
Well, Allison should know.
What is internet anyway?
Internet is that massive computer network, the one that's becoming really big now.
What do you mean? That's big. How does one? What do you write to it like mail?
No, a lot of people use it and communicate. I guess they can communicate with NBC writers and producers. Allison, can you explain what internet is?
No, she can't say anything in 10 seconds or less.
Allison will be in the studio shortly.
What
does it mean?
It's a giant computer network made up of started from.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell us what this was.
It's like a computer billboard.
It's not an. It's a computer billboard, but it's nationwide. And it's several universities and everything all joined together.
And others can access it.
And it's getting bigger and bigger all the time.
Several universities joined together. It's getting bigger and bigger all the time. That was 1994. Maybe some of you were in school or in high school. Some of you may have graduated. Some of you might have been in college, but you can probably remember. Some of you weren't born, but there's others of you who can remember what 1994 was like. And can you imagine the internet being that new within some of our lifetimes? So I want us to think about that as we go ahead.
Back now, 56 past, I wasn't prepared to translate that.
AI today. Here's another one with Bill Gates.
Is there something now beyond what we understand about computers that like 20 years ago we didn't fully understand computers? Is there now another level of something? Maybe we haven't even thought of it. Maybe it's not even possible. Maybe, a whole different mechanism, a whole different software and hardware. Or is this going to be it now through the end of time?
Mostly what we're working on now is the computer being a tool to help us learn or find other people with the same interests. Eventually, we may figure out how to make the computer think, but That turns out to be a very tough problem. In fact, there's been almost no progress made on it. So nobody knows when that'll happen. Some people think it'll never happen.
Yeah, we don't want them to think, do we? Not really, I wouldn't think.
It's a scary thought.
Yeah. It's too bad there's no money in this too, isn't there? Just a shame.
So interesting today, the Bill Gates clip, because just this week, Bill Gates put out a video, actually, it's about a 20-minute video. It's very interesting, where he talks about how AI is the biggest change or the biggest invention
Is there some
in his life. And so that's a really interesting one. So students are using AI. This is some data from late 2024. Students are using data, but let's take a look at how they're using it. The top tool that they're using is Snap, the AI that's in Snapchat. Their primary use is for fun. They're testing it out. They're making pictures. They're making videos. They're using things, but they're not necessarily using it for creation of scholastic materials. Now, we know that some students are using it for school, but for the most part, they're seeing it on their phones, they're seeing it in their apps, and they're trying it out for fun. Where are they learning about AI? Well, they're learning about it on TikTok and Instagram. You can go onto TikTok and hear thousands of videos of college students telling you how to get away with using AI and cheating and all sorts of different ways that you can be perhaps not so forthcoming about your use of AI. And so here's the big takeaway. We don't want students to get their whole AI education from TikTok. Students need educators to guide them as we all learn about AI. So whether you're a teacher and you're still learning about AI, your students need to learn about AI. That is a point where we all need to be learning about AI. And so when we look at assessment, we're at this interesting intersection. We're at the intersection of teaching with AI, so using tools and helping our students use tools, but also we still really need to teach about AI. And I would say that we can't necessarily have our kids use AI well unless they know about AI. And that might mean that we need to learn about AI so we can help our students do that. We're at the intersection of AI perhaps as cheating and helping our students understand what does it look like to maybe use AI in a way that isn't honest versus a way that is integrity. Cheating, we would define as using an aid, a help to receive undue credit, right? So you're trying to maybe get away with something. In that case, when we think about, the academic world, the accuser, the teacher, the college, the university, they need to provide the evidence that the cheating has occurred. On the other hand, we would like to, of course, move our students toward integrity and that concept of ensuring that tasks represent the knowledge and the skills that one possesses, that we use AI as a helper to make us more efficient, but that we don't necessarily circumvent or skirt around the actual learning. We want our learners to be able to transparently document, to be able to reflect on their AI, saying, well, maybe I shouldn't use it here, but I should use it here. It's helpful here. I need to learn this skill myself before I can use AI. That's the intersection that we're at. We're at the intersection of AI as an invitation to do good for the world, increased efficiency to solve difficult world problems, versus AI as an invasion and a mindset where AI is learning to get around or omit or evade learning, resulting in human skill loss and invasion of AI into all other nefarious uses of it, perhaps. So when we think about AI and assessments, one of the big reactions has been one of fear. We need an AI detector. That's probably the number one question that I've gotten from colleagues or people. What's the best AI detector? How can I find something that's going to tell me if the students have been cheating? And others say, no, we're going back to paper. We're only going to do handwritten assessments. And others are thinking that they're going to try to ban the use of AI on all assessments. Of course, that's likely impossible, but they still maybe don't know about it enough to think that they can actually accomplish that. So when we talk about cheating, One of the things that you may have heard this survey before, it's a Stanford survey from late October 2023, and it talks about how students, according to their research, longstanding research on cheating, aren't using ChatGPT more. They're not cheating more since the advent of ChatGPT. 60 to 70% have said that they use ChatGPT to cheat, but that's the same percentage that existed when we go back to 2012 to 2010. So students, 60% to 70% of students have always been cheating in their university studies. It just looks different. And perhaps it's easier or shinier or quicker to do now that we have ChatGPT. So one of the things we need to know is that AI isn't changing how much students are cheating, but it is changing the tools that they're using it. And so that's an important part when we come to assessment. I would like to listen to a little clip from this fascinating video. Dan Fitzpatrick is one of the leading educational AI speakers. He's got a book, AI in the Classroom, certainly a great read. Actually has a brand new second one that's just out recently. I'm going to play a clip from this video. The whole video is only about 6 or 7 minutes. Certainly worth watching. Let's listen to this clip.
Now, some might wonder, does using AI equate to plagiarism? It's essential to clarify that plagiarism involves presenting someone else's work as one's own. AI-generated content, on the other hand, doesn't replicate someone's work. It's a product of algorithms and the skill of the person who prompts. That's right, the skill of the person prompting is a legitimate skill that is valuable and important in the AI era. How dare we just call AI-generated content someone else's work and get them to discount it or even reference it as the sole work of AI? Prompt writing is a skill that can demand over 3 times the salary of a principal of a school. So to judge working with AI as illegitimate is to show major ignorance on a colossal scale. Let's take a step back and think. Would we call taking a train cheating because we aren't using our feet? Do we consider using a calculator as cheating in our daily lives? What about availing ourselves of our phones, a thesaurus, or even tools like Grammarly? Across various fields, from authors employing editors to managers using a personal assistant, the line between assistance and cheating is thinning. So where exactly do we draw this line? And why is defining it so critical? There are 3 reasons why this matters. As we delve further into our tech-driven age, the demarcation between what humans can achieve independently and what they can accomplish with AI's help becomes increasingly blurred. Recognizing this merger is of utmost importance for several reasons. These 3 reasons are future readiness. Our students must be adept at collaborating with AI. A deficiency in this skill could leave them behind in the competitive global market. In a recent podcast, Mustafa Suleyman, the co-founder of DeepMind, talked about how AI, with the assistance of humans, can achieve a lot more than AI just on its own. And he talked about the example of the Google AI that beat the Go champion. The game of Go beat the Go champion a few years ago. And since then, they found that a human assisted with AI beats the AI that beats the Go champion. Humans with AI is vital. And it will be vital for our students to know this so that they're future ready. And not just future ready, but ready for now.
All right, so future ready, humans and AI working together.
Now, some might wonder,
So we mentioned cheating, we mentioned AI detectors a little bit. The definite prevalent view across academic institutions, higher ed, high schools, school districts, is that AI detectors do not have a place in assessment. That they are problematic, they are unfair, they often discriminate against non-native English speakers, they often discriminate against students whose writing is not as strong. And so for the most part, I'd say the North American world right now would say do not use AI detectors. And so an AI detector would be where you put the student's essay in and you expect it to spit out an answer, AI or human written at the end. We should not be using AI detectors. What should we do instead? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. And you can come back to this great image. This is by Holly Clark. And we're going to talk about lots of these items on the what to do instead section. So back to that question, is using AI cheating? Dan Fitzpatrick asked us that in his video, and he would suggest that cheating is a skill if AI is cheating. You may have seen this great graphic from Matt Miller in his book, AI for Educators. This is another really good book if you're looking to read about AI. And if you look at the top, AI does all the work for students. So prompt and paste and go. At the bottom, the student does all the work without any assistance from AI, no internet. I don't know about you, but I can't think of the last time when I wrote something, created something where I didn't use the internet for something, to check spelling, to check an image, to add an image, to check a quote. So what does that look like? This is a great activity to do with your colleagues, maybe with those of you in a department, if you have to decide, what is our policy going to be? What's that going to look like? And perhaps the question is, when we assess, can the line shift? Is there times when the line might be AI is used fourth from the bottom here to gather data and research, but the content is created on its own? What does that look like? Maybe that's acceptable, but way up here, AI generates multiple drafts. Students chooses best parts of drafts, put it together, all different kinds of ways. So what is acceptable? Where is the line? And does the line stay the same for every type of work? I would suggest that line moves, and it probably should move so that we make sure that our students get a bunch of different skills. Now, when we're talking about AI, this is one of the most widely used scales that exist. You might have seen in past years the traffic light system, where a red is like there's no AI. This is like, don't use AI. It's not appropriate. You'll get yourself into trouble. Yellow is AI assisted, where the teacher might identify, well, you can use it for brainstorming or planning or researching, or the teacher would identify a specific part that you can use it for. And then the green would be AI is enhanced. The assignment has been designed to be created or used with AI to elevate content, to perhaps produce something beyond what we could as a human in the time that's given. So that was the kind of on the right, that traffic light idea was an early iteration. One of the most prominent AI assessment scales right now about the extent to which we use AI is by Australia's Leon Frews. He's now at a university there. And this AI assessment scale is on a 1 to 5 from no AI for idea generation and structuring. A 3 is AI assisted editing. 4 is AI completion, but the human is still part of that. And then 5 is full-blown AI, where you are going back and forth with AI to create a thing in its entirety. So that is a really good document or a scale if you want to have conversations with people at your school or in your department about what that looks like. And it's also really a good one to print out and have by your desk as you are trying to determine, for this particular assignment, where are we at? And one of the things we're going to talk about throughout today is how important it is to let students know specifically for this assignment, where are we at? I thought I'd move the slide a little bit further down, but while we're talking about that concept of plagiarism and cheating, here is a really neat thing we can teach our kids when we're trying to get them to understand when it's okay to use AI or not. And this is a little thing that's been developed by Helen Gretrix at Penn State. And so I'm borrowing that from hers. But basically, it goes like this. Think about someone who has helped you do your work. So someone you might normally go to for help, a mom, a dad, a brother, a sister, a friend, and take that name of that person and then substitute it when you are thinking about using AI. So for example, can I use ChatGPT to do my homework assignment for me? Can I use ChatGPT to write my essay? If we swap that out with, can my friend Sam do my homework assignment for me? Can my sister write my essay for me? Not that it never happens, but most students know that there is a line there. We can't get our mother to write our essay. We can't get our sister to write our essay. That becomes pretty clear. And so when we put it into that human helper element, it helps students. Now take a look at the second one. Can I use ChatGPT to brainstorm some ideas to help me get started on my science fair project or whatever that project might be? That becomes, can I brainstorm some ideas with my friend Sam, my brother, to help me get started on my science fair project? And the answer to that most likely is, well, probably yes. And so this is a really neat thing that we can help our kids, our students understand and use. Now, as we are on that topic of AI detectors and cheating, one of the things that I would like to encourage you is that while we should not use commercial detectors, there are so many things that you as a human can do to become aware of AI. One of the things you need to do is just use AI. Use it, use it, use it. The more that you use it, the better that you will get at it. And there's a whole list of items here. It's often too long, too short. It's off topic. The examples don't match. They're weird. There's a real phony, stilted sound to it. The more that you read examples, the more that you give them to kids, they'll catch on. The formatting is very distinct. It always has headings, lists, and bullets, often asterisks that it pulls from the code that's used to write it. It's probably more error-free than the student writes. It's a different style, different voice. One great thing to do is put your own assignment in as a prompt and try the AI out for yourself. And what happens when you get out an AI product? Look for similarities with student work. We'll talk about some of these other items here. I have a whole series on about AI, and there's a video that I have, and I think a link, both of those links on the right will get you to a video where I go through and give lots of examples of how you can be a human AI detector. And as we're assessing as humans, that's something that we really need to get good at, is those spidey senses that say, oh, I wonder about this one. And the more that you use AI, the more that you try your own assignments in AI, the better that you will get at that. And so one of the big questions that was brought up with Dan Fitzpatrick's video and our whole stream of thought today is it ethical to withhold opportunities for students to learn about and with AI? If we think back to some of those fear responses, ban AI, pen and paper only, is that even ethical? Now, Dan Fitzpatrick talked about in computer games like chess, AI is at the point where it can beat a human. The machine can beat a human, but AI plus a human will beat that AI machine. We're still at that point. Consider this, especially perhaps in the last month or two, citizens without knowledge of AI will be more and more susceptible to misinformation and manipulation. And I think that's got to be a huge fear right now. If we don't know what AI is capable of, if we don't know how it operates, if we don't know its good and bad qualities, we will be more and more susceptible to believing things without knowing what to look for, without knowing what questions to ask. And even just think about our students going into the future for jobs. You might have heard this phrase before, that AI won't take your job or their jobs, but someone who can use AI will take your job. So that future, again, the world we've been preparing our students for, with our essays and our traditional assignments, that world no longer exists. I have a slide that's coming up that'll talk about that as well. So as we have been talking about cheating and plagiarism, we really need to move in our assessment from the mindset that AI is cheating to AI as pedagogy. Our goal in assessment and creating assessments is to normalize the responsible use of AI. Now, there's a lot that has to happen to get there, but we need that to happen. As the human, we are the master. AI is our assistant. We need to operate that way. We need to model what that looks like. Our students need to see us operating as the master of AI, and we need to pass that message on to them. AI is an assistant. We are the boss. We need to take what it does and really look at its work. So there we get that concept of AI as a first draft. We should not prompt and paste. Prompting and pasting is pathetic. That's something I like to remind anybody I talk to about AI, that concept of put the prompt in, hit go, paste it, and send it on to a document or an email. That is a pathetic use of AI. It's dangerous. There's all sorts of likelihoods that there'll be falsities in there. We can't have that be the norm. And so we want for us to model, for our students, think of AI as an amplifier, not a replacer. So it shouldn't be that I just take this prompt and send it in place of something that I've written, but using AI to amplify what I'm capable of, to do things more efficiently, to a greater extent. That's where we need to go as we're looking at AI as a pedagogy. So, are there such thing as AI-resistant assessments? What do you think? Turn and talk to a neighbor. Do these exist? What might they look like? All right. Some of the AI organizations and tools out there definitely do market things as AI resistant or AI assistant. One of my favorite AI for education websites is called AI for Education. And it is a great site. There's webinars, resources. They have an incredible prompt library. They have a set of prompts, design AI resistant assessments. And if you open that up, you can see here that they've got all sorts of suggestions for designing assessments that might be more difficult to use AI for. And I want you to take a look at this here. AI-resistant assessments focus on process over product, durable skills such as critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, often include oral performance, and they go on and list some other items there. So that is an example of AI prompting for AI-resistant designs. Lots of you have used Magic School. One of their teacher tools is AI-resistant assessments. So those exist, and we can, use those to try to get us to items that are more resistant to the easy student use of AI. And we're going to spend lots of time talking about that today. As we talk about AI assistant assignments, have you heard of the Swiss cheese model? Now, this model comes out of clinical practice where they talk about disease prevention or healthcare prevention, how it's like Swiss cheese. So imagine if you take a block of Swiss cheese and it's the holy kind, slice it into many, many different slices. If you take a single slice, it has holes. But then if you take the next slice off the pile and put it on top, there might still be some holes, but some of those holes are going to cover. And if you keep adding layers of that slice of cheese, the holes are always in different places. And so that idea, when we apply that to AI and assessment relying on a single slice of cheese, a single slice, a single assignment to be AI proof is unrealistic. That's not going to happen. Some assignments are going to be better than others, but there's nothing that's going to be fully AI proof 100% other than, a kid in a room with a pen. And there's reasons why that might not be the best output or product. So that concept of layering, that minimizes cheating, it promotes genuine learning, and perhaps there was some AI use on one of those layers, but maybe not all of the layers. And so it's that that concept of layering and using a variety of assignments and a variety of ways to go about it. Letting go of that all or nothing thinking that we're going to find the one AI foolproof assignment. It's not going to happen. So think of that Swiss cheese model. Here's another piece that I really like on the right hand is critical analysis activities. And one of the things that we want to make sure that we as teachers can do, but also students, we need to teach them how to identify the output. What does that look like? And so this is a great infographic. Talks about some of the things that we need to help students to be able to do. And a great way to help them, train them to do that is on the left here. If you give many different, this comparison protocol. So if you have an assignment, divide your students into groups of 4 or 4 groups. So maybe, or multiples, so you might have 8 groups, 2 with each area. One group does the assignment with no AI use at all. The second group uses brainstorming and then uses AI to create a draft. The other group is opposite. They use AI to create a draft, and then they use human revision. And then the last group, AI only, prompt and paste. And so this could be anything. This could be a science lab. It could be an essay, a short story, a narrative, a poem, whatever that looks like. Whatever your assignment is, you can use this protocol. And it is super powerful for students to start to see the differences, start to see for themselves what is AI generated, what does AI look like, what does it sound like, and where is the human use better? Where has the human use been able to make the AI better? Where did the AI really help? And so using assessment models, taking time to do a comparison protocol where we're all contributing to look at the process can be super powerful. So speaking of process, we need to shift our AI resistant assessments to get them there from product to process. So instead of, I taught English language arts, social studies for a long time, instead of an essay at the end that is worth 40% or a big chunk of their mark, and that essay is the only thing that gets the mark, we need to start to take a look at evaluating the process, whether we put marks in the grade book or whether it's a checklist along the way. The process is becoming more and more important. If we scaffold and help students out along the way, they will also learn in a way where they're not necessarily needing to cheat or pump out an AI essay at the end because it's day 7 and they haven't done any work yet. So our job is along the way to manage the process, to take interim check-ins. What does your draft look like? Okay, so maybe we have them do a brainstorm with AI and they submit that part. And then they work from there. But the submission, the AI generation is due on a certain day. So we've maybe taken that process and run it along. We need to shift our focus from doing old things in new ways. So AI is really fast at a lot of things. You've probably used a tool, and I talked about a lot of them. I'll talk about a lot of them in the next session. Magic School and Diffit and School AI and all sorts of tools that help us do things faster. But those are old assessments, multiple choice, rubrics, worksheets, tests, fill in the blank. Those kinds of things aren't the kind of learning, the critical thinking, the fostering of skills that we need. So AI can help us do those old things much faster, but we can't think that that is where AI is at. We need to look at doing new things in better ways. And we'll talk about more personalized learning paths, personalized, individualized feedback, problem solving and problem finding, delivering to authentic audiences, not just this sheet of paper that you put in the teacher's basket and you may or may not get it back with a mark on after 2 days or 4 days or 6 days or a week, whatever that looks like. We need to shift our focus from compliance and task focused to active learning and goal focused. And I know that students sometimes struggle there. They've learned how to play school. And if they do the thing and get all the boxes done or all the lines filled out, they'll get a check mark and you'll be off their back, whether it's really accurate or their best work or not. What does that look like as we start to focus on actual learning goals and actively learning? We need to shift our focus from teacher as the audience to real world as the audience. I think of all the essays that my students have submitted to me as a teacher, and I am the audience, and that is the end. And, they need to write an essay because they might go on to college and need to use it there. But that is something that we really need to shift the focus on. What does it look like to have real world audiences? We need to shift from consumption to creation. Consumption might be things like, the internet has allowed us to have lots of really easy consumption. IXL, Read Theory, No Red Ink, Gizmos, all sorts of activities where students do a thing, they get a reward, they get a coin, they get an incentive, and they keep going. Now, there's a place for those, but that can't be the be all and end all. Our students need to create. We need to shift from traditional assignments. I've been talking about essays. Think about what that looks like for your field. And we need to focus to content and media that the world wants to consume. Parents don't say, yes, honey, I would love to read your essay. Now, some might, but typically that doesn't get parents excited. But parents want to hear their kids' video. Parents would love to hear their kids' podcasts. Parents would love to see their kids' image gallery of the product that they've done, TED Talks, documentaries. Think about the things that you do on a Friday night, the kinds of media that you watch, that you consume. Some of you are still readers and do some traditional things, but by far, the vast majority of the content is digital media, and digital media that includes images and graphics and storytelling with pictures. That's what we need to do more of. I know you've all heard of Seth Godin. He's a prolific thinker and writer, and in his book, Linchpin, the premise of that book is that projects are the new resume. So there again, TED Talks. I've got a podcast series. I've got a documentary series that I've done. I've got a photo gallery, a photo essay gallery, whatever that looks like. Those projects are what show your skills. They're what show employers what you are capable of. So here is a list of, if we take all of those different things, all the shifts that we need to make: traditional consumption to creation, teacher's audience to teacher, real world audience. If we take all of those things, these are some of the AI types of assignments and assessments that are somewhat resistant and follow some of those principles that we've talked about. When we go back to that website where they, give you AI resistant assessments or help you prompt for designing them, these are the kinds of things that it looks like. You can emphasize personal reflection. What is your connection? Help students or require students to connect to something in their life or their world. That's harder for AI to take care of. Definitely more oral response. Students would have to work really, really hard. Not that there's not tools out there that wouldn't do it, but really, really hard to have a realistic avatar of them creating an oral response for a high school assignment. It can be done, but if they can do that, well, I'd probably say, hey, you've learned a lot already. Good for you. But those oral responses, if you use Seesaw, super powerful. Padlet has a really nice recording tool. If you have Google Workspace, the new Google Slides has it. Of course, Flip was the ultimate for this. If you haven't tried the AI app called Snorkel app, I'm going to show that in the next session. It is fabulous. What it does for oral responses, listens to the response, gives feedback, gives a grade, encourages students to redo it if they didn't hit all the markers. Really great. Spend more time on the process and collect the process. So again, instead of just that essay is due on Wednesday and it's worth all the marks, collect the process, put marks on the process, the outline, the brainstorm, the drafts. Lots of you do that, but that has to become more important than that one piece at the end. Change your media to multimedia. So recordings, like we saw on that last slide, podcasts, videos, digital portfolios are huge, something where you can show your learning. Another thing that is really useful, and this can be used, whether you're in science, math, social studies, language arts, spectrums. Where would you fit on a scale from here to here? Or rank these three things and justify why. Much harder for AI to do that, much harder for students to prompt AI to do that well. Class discussions, digital portfolios, those types of items where students are showing work and then metacognating, if that's a word, about their work and discussing their work, why they made their decisions, why they chose what they did. Those are the types of AI assessments and assignments. Some practical tips. Require writing in a Google Doc. It has version history, and you can, tell students that you're going to be checking, and one of the things you're going to check is their version history. And if they say, "Oh, well, I just gave you the copy," and it's all pasted in, tell them that's not good enough. Require that they write in a Google Doc. Lots of things you can do besides version history. You can also have them do some commenting on it. We'll talk about that in a minute. If you haven't used some of these other tools, there's revision history. And so you can see that's the GIF that's running right here. It's an extension. And it's inside of Google Docs. And basically what happens, it's a couple things. You see the bar at the bottom of my slide. It tells you how many deletions, large copy and pastes, how long the writing sessions were. And then it also has a draft replay. And so if you watch here, if we go along, right now it's pretty gobbledygooky, terribly written. And then there's going to be a big red flash. And now all of a sudden the student became a really good writer. So what went on there? Why all of a sudden could the student spell and type correctly? You can ask yourselves that. If you haven't used the Brisk extension for Chrome, in the very early days, they came out with what they called an AI detector. Now you see this little tool here, Inspect Writing, and it has a playback, video playback, very much like this. It'll again tell you if there's been large chunks of text. It works fairly similar to that. So those are some real practical tips. There's another extension called Draftback. and it's been around for a long time, it'll give you a video essentially of the whole document's progression, and you can see what it's looked like, how the writing process was. So those are some tools that you can use if you need to clarify whether students have done their own work. But it also can be really valuable to use DraftBack on a piece that you've written and talk students through the writing process. This is how real writers write. It's not just I sit down and knock off a piece. It's back and forth, type, revise, copy, paste, move around. So the process can be shown with these as well. So students need practice. They need practice in all sorts of ways. We Will Write is a new AI tool where they get writing scenarios, and students kind of almost like write against each other and against some bots, and then they vote and they write some more, but it encourages them to use more imagery, use more figurative language. So it's a practice. At the end of the day, it doesn't feel like my teacher needed to mark that because they've had interaction and feedback with the writing. You might use Quill, no red ink, the writing pathway. These are some examples of tools. They do have more AI in them now, where students can get immediate feedback on those basic writing skills, sentence construction, complex sentences, as opposed to the way we used to do it, where there's questions in a book or questions on the board. The students write them down, and we either exchange and mark, or the teacher takes them in, and we might get them back days later when we have moved on. So this real-time practice is important, and it's not the be-all end-all. It's not the only thing, but it can be a piece of the thing. Students need time management in their writing. Ask ChatGPT or AI for a timeline. It's actually very good at the writing process. And so the prompt here, I have 3 days to write this essay. Can you suggest some steps? Model that for students. At the bottom, I have Goblin Tools. I don't know if you've heard of Goblin Tools before, but they have some neat tools that I wouldn't necessarily, this wouldn't be probably a student-friendly piece, because they would need to have an account. And in our district, we're not there yet where we're asking students to create accounts, but you could model this for them. I've got these things to do, help me organize it. How long will certain things take? So this is about helping students or adults with executive function. They need that help. Here's more of the ChatGPT's help with what you need to do, the step by step. When we show students options for AI that they haven't considered, like a writing plan or a writing timeline, it makes them think that we know more about AI than we do. So if we have good, unique ideas or use cases for AI, when students see us model those, that is certainly to our benefit. Students need ideas. And so here's Magic School. They have an idea generator. And this is actually, Magic School actually has a student-facing tool that teachers can say, okay, I'm going to give you the sentence starter tool and the idea generator tool, and you're going to do some pre-work as you write your essay. Students need feedback, and we're going to see Magic School in action here in a moment. So when we think about feedback, for me, this is a huge piece with AI. Think about AI versus human feedback. It's timely, it's instant. So I don't wait a day or a week or 3 days until my teacher marks my sentences or my paragraph or my essay. I get instant feedback. Oh, that's what I did wrong. I'm going to try to not do that next time. Because it's instant, it's more frequent, it's more consistent, it's possibly more accurate. Now, we know that AI makes mistakes, and it will from time to time, but I'm a pretty mistake-prone human myself. And so knowing that I'm prone to make mistakes from time to time as well, We need to teach kids to identify poor feedback, but overall, the timely, instant, consistent feedback will outweigh feedback that might occasionally be inaccurate. But teachers also give inaccurate feedback. So do peers. Have you ever had kids peer edit? Half the things that a peer might say are not relevant, and we teach our kids that, right? AI feedback is likely more detailed than I'm going to give consistently. It can increase students' independence and ownership. So instead of how do I, or waiting at the desk, they have a tool where they can take ownership of their own learning. And I would suggest perhaps less biased than a human. A traditional workflow from early generative AI, the teacher, or we now have tools where the student can do this. Copy and paste your rubric into ChatGPT. Perplexity AI is a nice tool. It's a large language model. Students could use it earlier on without having to log in. So it was a little safer if you wanted them to try something out. Then paste the written response afterwards and ask it for feedback. And you don't have to give the whole, you could just ask it on my organization. How did I do there? Or what are some suggestions? What do I need to improve? And so then student takes that piece, copies the suggestions into their Google Doc, and then continues. So that is a workflow that we could leverage. Now, this is Magic School, and you'll see there's a Launch to Students button. And we're making a room called Essay Feedback for 12th grade, and they're assigning the writing feedback tool. And so they're going to pop in here the assignment. So the teacher's copying the assignment. They're uploading the rubric, the PDF of the rubric, and then they're going to say done. They're going to post that just with a join code. So the student's going to type in the 5 letters, and then that is off and running. And then let's take a look at the student side. So the student gets the join code. They type their name in. It gives a warning, and then they're going to go into the feedback piece. They have copied their feedback in, and the AI that I gave it has the rubric and instructions embedded that I've created, and then that AI is going to give the student feedback. So if you think about what that would look like to give you that type of feedback, and now here if we look, there's strengths, growth, and then general feedback on writing mechanics. That is individual feedback much faster than I could possibly provide. So for me, the feedback piece is a super important part of the assessment. Boost has a similar product with their tutors, and they are coming out with some more as well. So Boost Student, Brisk Boost is the student-facing platform. Jen Roberts is an English teacher in the States that I've gotten lots of my ideas from, and we're going to see some of her work coming up. She reminds us that students need to learn to decide for themselves if feedback is accurate or helpful or not, just like they would if they were working with peers. Feedback and individualization is so crucial as we go forward. How many of you were or are or know a student who is brilliant? They're so smart, but they struggle with school because school's one size fits all. Maybe they're not organized. Maybe they have slow processing speed, dyslexia. Maybe there's attendance issues for something that's not even something they can control. There might be language learning or different language issues. What if instead of them getting lost in that one size fits all, wait for the teacher, wait for your classmates, what if we could have AI individualization where every kid got what they needed? Now, our best students, those blessed with good eyesight, attention, hearing, they've flourished and they've always been able to kind of get it right in school. And so those students, parents, those teachers, and lots of us fit into this category. we're often most hesitant as this individualization can raise the level of others. And when you have this group of people, students, teachers, parents, where they're used to being on top because they have good executive function skill, sometimes there's a lot of pushback when we raise the playing field for other people. But imagine that AI assistant for every learner. It knows their learning style, their strengths, their weaknesses. It knows what level to start at and what level they're working toward. They learn how to push to get to the next level. They can keep a student on task. An individualized AI thought partner helps everybody, not just this kid who's always got the answers. Think of what that does for scheduling. And in the little box over here, a quote that I wanted to make sure that I touched on. AI is only as good as the training data. If the data is skewed to privileged kids who have more resources, that will have a negative impact on them. This is an article, if you're interested, on transforming that feedback loop. And so a guest writer for Matt Miller's Ditch That Textbook has an article that I've just wanted to put in there for you. So to finish off, here's some strategies that promote, I have authentic writing, but this could be authentic assignments in lots of ways. In this particular case, crowdsourcing writing before the assignment. So you're reading a novel, you are researching or learning about the French Revolution. Have students collaborate together, working together to put those pieces together. So here is a sample of a crowdsourced spreadsheet. So you can see here, select and accurately type a piece of evidence from the book, and then the page number, and then explain. And so this has been crowdsourced. The whole class has participated. And so all students have this material, and so it gives a good starting spot. So that's part of that scaffolding, part of that piece. Now the names are taken out of here, but you could give a check mark or a mark for this step. This is a really clever piece that I like. What if AI wrote the essay? Now I've talked about, comparing different essays, and I think we could put our rubrics in and ask AI to write different models for us. But I really liked this assignment from my friend Jen. So she basically gives AI the prompt, has it spit out an essay, and she says, okay, kids, this is an AI essay. It's not very good. Now, here's some pieces they have to do. They have to revise at least 50% of it. They have to use references. They have to correct anything that's wrong. AI is known for making mistakes. The essay is 366 words. It needs to be at least 500. You must keep at least 10%. That prevents students from starting from scratch. They are not allowed to do that, and they have to be able to show their virgin history. And then at the end, so they've made the changes. They have to add 5 Google Docs comments. So this is that metacognition, thinking about their thinking for the things that they have changed. And maybe that's what you mark. Maybe you mark the thinking about the comments or the thinking about the changes, or do they get the writing process as evidenced by what they're saying in their comments? You aren't going to want to do this all day, every day. This would maybe be something for later in the semester, but it's a lot harder than it seems. And there's a source to an article. I got this again from my friend Jen, if you want to read that. So strategies that promote authentic writing. Lots of writing. Get to know the student's voice. The more that they write for you in a quick, short time where they don't have time to use AI, the more that you have samples, the more that you get to know them. Get those due dates and have markers scaffold along the way. Write in Google Docs so you have Google History. List AI expectations carefully. And I don't think I've said this enough today. When we give assessments, we must at the outright, not just for the course outline, but for each assignment, tell students what is acceptable. Can you brainstorm? Can you use it to check the formatting? Can you use it to help generate ideas? Peer review is another great strategy, or even collaborative writing. If the two have to work together, fewer to grade, but they have to talk about the process, and that's really what we want. So should teachers use AI to assess student work? Well, that's a question that I often get in trouble for. Here's my thoughts. There's all sorts of teachers out there. Imagine that you've got colleagues. One teacher, you're marking essays, only puts a percentage on, no feedback. Another teacher puts feedback on, but it might be 2 months till students see that essay again. Teacher number 3, writing is hard. It's too much work. I don't like marking. I'm going to forget about it. We're not even going to write. They'll learn to write when they get to grade 12. And then maybe there's a colleague who tries their best. They give quality feedback. They, try to get that back in 1 or 2 times. If we said to teachers, you cannot use AI to assess or help assess student work, these students, most of them, are not better off. So that feedback, that individualization, if we let teachers assess using AI tools, all of those benefits can happen. I think that asking a teacher to not use AI assessment tools like an essay grading help, for example, is, well, here's my little analogy. You've got a mom and her little kids, and she's been shopping, and it's hot. It's like July, and it's 35 degrees, and she's gone to Superstore. And they've come to the store in their nice air-conditioned van, and it's hot, and she can't wait to get the kids back out there. But someone says, oh, well, you can't use your van. That's cheating. Kids these days do not get enough exercise. Look at you. You're looking a little paunchy. You could use the exercise too. It's fresh air and, participation. You need to get out and do some work. Besides, that car pollutes. Air conditioning is extra bad for the environment. I'll tell you what, here is a cart, and you can have this cart, special cart just for you, and you can use this cart to get your groceries home and your kids, but you can't take your car. You need the exercise, or it's better. To me, that's what it feels like if we think that teachers shouldn't be using these tools as well as part of our grading practice. As teachers, we always need to be the final eyes, the final thoughts, but consistency, speed, detailed. I think that we can move our students ahead more if we make sure that teachers can use those tools as well. Here's some tools that are assessment support for teachers. Make Progress is a writing progress tool. Sherpa is an interesting one. It involves some of that oral piece we were talking about. Some resources on how to use Gen AI as a thought partner, a prompt framework. I didn't talk about it much today, but part of what we should have students do is submit the process as well. What did you use it for? And then actually have them copy and paste their prompts and their outputs. And that should go into the Google Doc as well as that final piece. Should we cite AI? That is complex, and people are all over the map about that. There is MLA and APA style for citing generative AI. Right now, I think erring on the side of being transparent, but I think there's going to come a point, just like we wouldn't say, I looked up how to spell this in the dictionary. AI is going to become that ubiquitous. So AI for assessment, lots to think about. On top of that, we do need to teach students about AI. So remember, we talked about the intersection of teaching students with AI and about AI. They need to know about the bias, the misinformation, inaccuracies, plagiarism, safety, privacy, how to remain a critical thinker, even in this age of AI. We need to learn these things so that we can help teach these things to our students. Here's that same goal that we want to omit, and lots of resources, my next session. And today's resources are at AI, capital A, capital I, /can. That's where you can find those. It's been a pleasure learning with you today. connect with me, and I'd love to continue the conversation.